The bench press is probably the most popular compound lift out there. It rarely happens that you walk into the gym and don't see someone already using the bench. And whether or not you're a beginner or an intermediate lifter, everyone likes a bigger bench. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 fundamentals of a big bench press. And I know that this video can get a little bit too technical for some people, and for them, I will sum up the entire video in just 1 minute at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. Just to be clear, this video is about the fundamentals of a strong hypertrophy bench press which you will be able to use for muscle growth. This is not a video about the fundamentals of a powerlifting bench press, so the back arch and the leg drive, although they are included in this video, but they are not hyper optimized to increase weight while compromising growth. The first fundamental starts even before you unrack the bar. It's your setup. First, you place your feet firmly on the floor, about 1.5 to 2 times of your shoulder width apart, or you can just use the stance that you use for your squats. Then you plant your hips firmly on the bench and be sure to plant your feet in such a position which allows them to apply some amount of force or pressure to the floor. Then you lay down on the bench and grab the bar very tightly while placing it deep into your palms. You can almost imagine yourself trying to wrist curl the weight while you are trying to grab the bar or while you are grabbing the bar. The grip width can vary from about a little bit outside of your shoulder width to about 2 times of your shoulder width or even wider. Although, as you can clearly see, this can be considered a close grip bench press, while this and this can be a little bit too excessive. A good rule of thumb is to start with about 1.5 times of your shoulder width and then move out or move in according to the level of comfort that you are feeling in the lift. The best width or widths will be the ones which put the muscle in a deep stretch in the bottom, allows you to load relatively heavy on the lift and feels comfortable to your joints. A lot of people prefer having a loose or a thumbless grip on the bench press, but in my experience, it's best to have a very strong grip on the bar, as activating your forearm flexors will ensure or will at least prevent the chance of wrist bend. Another thing that you can do to prevent or reduce wrist bend is imagine yourself trying to punch the ceiling, as doing that it will straighten your wrist because your knuckles will be pointed upwards towards the ceiling. Whoosh. The next step is to retract your scapula back and down while also raising your chest. What I do is that after I have grabbed the bar, I imagine myself trying to break the bar in 2 pieces like a twig and then also raising my chest after that. What happens as a result of this is that my rib cage is now elevated while my shoulder blades are now in a retracted position. This position is a really safe position for your shoulders to be in, and while combining this with the planting of our hips, which we talked about earlier, we now have created an arch on our back. Not an exaggerated one, but one which makes the lift much more stable and strong. The act of breaking the bar helps you to tuck in your shoulders while also activating the lats, which act as a stabilizer muscle in this movement. Retracting your scapula and elevating your rib cage also places your chest muscles in an already pre-stretched position, which is great because you will be able to use the stretch reflex even more while taking the muscles through much more stimulative ranges of motion. Like, trust me, next time you go bench, try to keep your chest as high as possible and you will feel a gnarly stretch on your pecs when you lower the bar. Speaking of which, here's our next step, the descent. By now, you already have a very strong and stable setup, so you don't need to worry about any other training cues anymore. Just take a deep breath in your gut and then lower the bar near your nipple line in a very slow and controlled manner. There's no need for a super slow 5 to 10 second eccentric, but don't let the bar free fall on your chest. Just have a very controlled descent. There are no new cues that you need to learn or remember during this phase. Just maintain everything that you established during the setup. Keep your chest high, don't let it cave in while you are lowering the bar. Maintain tightness in your back and keep a slight degree of tuck in your elbows. Now, the amount of tuck or flare which is acceptable or safe varies vastly from person to person. So, experiment with it and find out what works best for you. Pick the one which makes you feel the strongest while keeping your shoulders and elbows in a safe and comfortable position.
As for tucking and flaring, I do a slight tuck on the negative and then flare my elbows out as I push. However, there is a wide range of acceptable tuck and flare angles that'll all hit the majority of the pec fibers to a similar degree. So for the most part, I think you should find a degree of tuck that feels comfortable to you. Anything from 0 to about 30 degrees is generally fine.
After you touch the bar to your chest, you can pause for a second or two, milking out the stretch at the bottom, or you can directly yank the bar upwards, which is exactly our next segment, the concentric. This is the most simple step so far, or the most simple phase so far, and you can also be a little bit more lenient here with your technique. Of course, don't just throw away everything that you have learned so far to just lift the bar up with the most atrocious technique ever seen by mankind. Keep your upper back tight while lowering the bar, and once the bar touches your chest, lift up the bar explosively while keeping your feet, hips and your upper back in contact to the floor or the bench. Imagine as if you are trying to push the bar away from you while pushing yourself into the bench, not just lifting the bar up towards the ceiling. And after you have completed the rep, after you have finished the concentric phase, just repeat everything from the eccentric phase. You can even allow your elbows to flare out a little bit while pressing if it doesn't hurt your shoulders. Before you start benching and even before you start setting up, be sure to set the bar height correctly. If the bar is set a bit too high, you will end up reversing every bit of scapular retraction that you established, as you will have to protract your scapula just to unrack the bar. And if the bar is set too low, you will be essentially losing energy, as you will already be doing a half rep before even the set starts. And if you're taking help from a spotter, be sure to communicate with them before you start the set. There are multiple videos on the internet where people are being rude to the spotters because they have lifted the bar a bit too early, but most of the time it's not the spotter's fault, it's the lifter's fault because they didn't say or specify when they need the help. So yeah, those were the 3 fundamentals of a big bench. And now, to summarize the video, here are 3 fundamentals to build a big bench press in just 1 minute. Number 1, the setup. Lay on the bench with your feet around shoulder width apart, placed firmly on the floor. Plant your butt on the bench and grab the bar with a tight grip, activating your forearms. Imagine yourself trying to break the bar in 2 pieces while also raising your chest, hence retracting your scapula down and back. Number 2, the eccentric. After unracking the bar while maintaining the upper back rigidity that you just created, take a deep breath in your gut and lower the bar to your chest around the nipple line in a controlled manner. You can keep your elbows a little bit tucked and your chest raised. Number 3, the concentric. Push the bar away from you in a very explosive manner while also pushing yourself into the bench. Breathe out and then repeat the eccentric phase for reps. Also remember to not set the bar too high or too low, and if you are using the help of a spotter, be sure to communicate with them before starting the lift. And boom, we are done. And hopefully by now you have an idea of how the bench press should be executed for hypertrophy. Let me know in the comments if you have any other way of setting up your bench press, and I will see you in the next one.